السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. دلوقتي في شباب كتير من إخواننا المرشدين السياحيين والشباب الغير مرشدين سياحيين يعني قاعدين في البيوت وعمالين يلعبوا على النت والكلام ده. الظروف الاقتصادية مش سامحة للناس إن هي تلعب وتعمل كده. ففي ناس أنا نصحتهم، قلت لهم إن حاجة بسيطة أو ممكن تعملوها على الإنترنت، إن أنتوا تعملوا قناة على اليوتيوب، ولما توصل المشاهدات ل1000 المشتركين فيها 1000 مشترك، وعدد الساعات المشاهدة للفيديوهات 4000 ساعة. فأغلب الناس نفضت الموضوع ده، وفي ناس قالوا طب احنا ما نعرفش نعمل فيديوهات، وفي يعني آنسات وسيدات قالوا لا احنا مش عايزين نطلع بنفسنا ونعمل فيديوهات وكده يعني. وفي ناس قالوا خالص احنا ما نعرفش نعمل، اصلنا ما عندناش كاميرات، يعني اي حجة من الحجة. فأنا دلوقتي هقول لكم أنا هعمل الفيديو إزاي وأنا قاعد كده في أوضة النوم ومرتاح. أنا شفت خبر في CNN بيقول إن في واحد من المسؤولين على الانتخابات في أمريكا بيقول لك no evidence of fraud that would change election. طبعا حضراتكم سمعتوا عن الانتخابات في أمريكا وعن الخناقة ما بين ترامب اللي هو الرئيس الحالي للولايات المتحدة الأمريكية والناس اللي هي بتنتخب والناس اللي بتشوف عدد الأصوات ومين بايدن خد كام صوت هنا في ولاية مين والكلام ده. فأنت بتخش على اليوتيوب وبتشوف حاجة مهمة، وهي على الشمال خالص. لو احنا دلوقتي شوف مثلا القناة بتاعتي اهي، ففي على الشمال خالص هنا حاجة اسمها تريندنج هنا كويس. فانا بخش على التريندنج هنا وبخش اشوف في عندك ميوزك، في جيمينج، في نيوز، في موفيز، في فاشن اند بيوتي. فأنا بحب أخش على النيوز. لقيت أول نيوز إن هو الراجل ده بيقول اللي هو بيل بار بيقول لك no evidence of fraud that would affect election outcome. يعني بيقول لك مفيش أي تزوير ممكن يغير النتيجة اللي اتقالت إن بايدن هو اللي كسب. وبص تحت كده لقيته واخد 124,000 كي، يعني 124,000 فيوز، وده من 3 ساعات بس. أنا عايز أعمل فيديو عن الموضوع ده، فأشوف كده فتحت الفيديو، ضغطت عليه، طلعت لي قناة CNN هي اللي نشر الكلام ده. فأنا على طول هروح أجيب البرنامج بتاع تسجيل الشاشة وأقول له نيو ريكوردينج، تسجيل الشاشة نيو ريكوردينج. هتبص تلاقيه عمل لك كده فريم شرط، مربع شرط كده. فأنا هروح ضغط على طالما خبر والCN نشراه وأنا هعمل عليه فيديو، فاليوتيوب مش هيعترض على كده. فأروح فاتح الفيديو كده واروح ضاغط على العلامة الحمراء دي اللي هي على الشمال، اللي هي في البرنامج او السوفت وير اللي بيسجل لي الشاشة. او اذا كنت عايز احرك الفريم ده اللي هو المنقط يمين او شمال كده، واروح ضاغط على على العلامة الحمراء دي، فهيبتدي يسجل. اتأكد ان الميكروفون محطوط عليه شرطة، يعني مش هيسجل حاجة من بره. التسجيل هيبقى من الفيديو اللي جوه الشاشة، مش من بره. يعني وانت بتسجل واتكلمت او في اصوات حواليك مش هتطلع في الفيديو ده. هدوس كده يبتدي يعد 3 2 1. اضغط بقى على ايه اسجل.
We have some breaking news. The Attorney General of the United States, William Barr, has just debunked President Trump's claims of widespread election fraud. In an interview with the Associated Press, he said, quote, "To date, we have not seen fraud on a scale that could have affected a different outcome in the election." I want to bring in CNN legal analyst Ann Milgram and CNN senior political analyst Ron Brownstein to be with us here. Ann, this is a significant statement coming from the Attorney General and from one of the president's loyalists.
It is. It's a really important statement. I've been following the civil cases that the campaign has filed. They've lost 39 of those cases. I think they've won one and they've lost 39. And courts continue to dismiss them, with the Third Circuit recently saying it's not enough to allege fraud or a problem. You have to actually come into court and prove it. And they just haven't done it. So there's another piece of the puzzle, which is criminal investigations. We know that earlier Attorney General Barr had told lawyers and FBI agents that they could investigate if they wanted to. That's in contradiction to longstanding DOJ policy. But now we have him coming out and saying they've looked at some systemic allegations of fraud. They haven't found anything. And this really, I think, pushes it a lot closer to all the litigation being done. I mean, he said to date, but we're a month after the election. And I think if anything was going to come to be investigated, he would have seen it by now.
And Ron, inherent in what Bill Barr is saying here is that Joe Biden won this election. What is your reaction?
Right. I mean, the fact that even Bill Barr is saying this, who has been the most loyalist to the president, who has repeatedly kind of twisted the law and the facts to try to benefit the president from the way he characterized the Mueller report initially, all the way through. The fact that even he is reaching this conclusion, Brianna, it makes it even more astonishing and egregious how few Republicans in Congress have been willing to say the same. In effect, to acknowledge that the sky is blue or that gravity exists, that there could not have been fraud on a scale to tilt an election that's going to finish somewhere around 6.5 million or 7 million vote margin. So the fact that even Bill Barr got here, I think, makes it even underscores just how exposed these Republicans in Congress are and just how cynical and corrosive their behavior has been in terms of allowing Trump to undermine faith in the election, which is happening among Republican voters.
Ron, you have a fascinating piece that is on CNN.com today. It is about how the GOP's silence right now has echoes of McCarthyism. Tell us about that.
Yeah, look, I mean, if anything, Republicans in Congress today are surrendering to Trump's conspiracy claims even more abjectly than Republicans did to McCarthy in the early 1950s. If you go back to the early 1950s, you can see that Robert Taft, who was Mr. Republican, the Senate Republican leader, the Mitch McConnell of his day, privately expressed doubt from the beginning about the wild accusations that McCarthy was making about communist infiltration in the government. But in public, he always supported him. Some combination of expediency and fear. Expediency in that they thought he was a useful weapon against the Truman administration, and fear in that as he got more powerful, Republicans worried about if he would turn his fire on them. Ultimately, they lost control. As McCarthy continued to make those charges once Dwight Eisenhower, a Republican, became president. Eventually, it destroyed him. But for years, Republicans went along despite knowing that these conspiracy theories were wild and implausible. And I think you are seeing much the same behavior. I think Mitch McConnell will stand in history right next to Robert Taft for enabling a conspiracy theory that he knows deep down is both unfounded and extremely damaging to kind of the social stability of the country.
It's an important read. Ron, thank you for talking to us about it. Ann, thank you so much as well for discussing all of this with us.
So about 3.5 years ago, I worked in a corporate job that I absolutely hated as a project manager. And if you stick around with me, I'm going to show you how I quit that job. And now
Trump amnesia is sweeping through Washington. Republicans who selectively ignored all kinds of transgressions by President Trump have suddenly regained their moral and ethical standards. Now the Democrats have taken control of the White House. And they're acting like the last 5 years never happened. The person most recently afflicted with Trump amnesia is Texas Republican Senator John Cornyn. Here he is slamming President-elect Biden's pick to head the Office of Management and Budget near a tandem.
light of her combative and insulting comments about many members of the Senate, mainly on our side of the aisle, that it creates certainly a problematic path. I've noted that she's already deleted a lot of her previous tweets in the last couple of weeks, which is seems pretty juvenile, and I mean, as if people won't have access to it.
Now, he is right that Neera Tanden is a mean tweeter. She has reportedly been deleting some of those tweets, notably about Republican senators whose votes she needs for confirmation. Just like everyone else, she should be held accountable for what she puts on social media. But perhaps Senator Cornyn is an imperfect messenger here, clutching his pearls in Donald Trump's oyster bar. In fact, let's roll his pearl clutching one more time.
I think in light of her combative and insulting comments about many members of the Senate, mainly on our side of the aisle, that it creates certainly a problematic path.
Combative and insulting comments about senators.
I call him Lying Ted Cruz. He's lying, Ted Cruz. We're not going to destroy the American dream for stupid people like Cory Booker. Crying Chuck Schumer, you know, I used to be a big contributor to. He used to kiss my ass, Chuck Schumer. Blumenthal, who was a fraudster when it came to Vietnam, that stiff, Mitt Romney, a total stiff, running. Who, by the way, is a dope. This monster that was on stage was Mike Pence, who destroyed her last night, by the way, but this monster, Rand Paul, shouldn't even be on the stage. She's Pocahontas, Elizabeth Warren. She's a total failure. Crazy Bernie. He is so crazy. Don't fall asleep as we talk about Sleeping Bob. I think Lindsey Graham is a disgrace. The guy is a nut job. I mean, what? And honestly, I don't want his endorsement. I don't want anything to do with him. He's not a war hero. He's a war hero because he was captured. Little Marco, they hate him in Florida.
And the other ironic part of Cornyn's Trump amnesia is his sudden attention to Twitter, because this comes on the heels of his pretty noteworthy ignorance of what's said on the platform. Like many Republicans, he often dodges questions about President Trump's tweets by pretending he hasn't seen them or dismissing them with ambivalence, sometimes not so subtly.
In this video, I'm going to show you how to create this ebook and also this flipbook.
Senator Cornyn, can you stop at the mics for a second? What do you make of the president's tweet this morning? Does the president need to be more cautious about what he tweets?
But now a sudden intense interest in the Twitter sphere. Tweets from the president. Cornyn doesn't want to talk about them, doesn't want to know about them, he told one reporter. He said, quote, it's not his job to provide running commentary on the president's behavior, but tweets from a prospective budget director, he would like to provide running commentary on her behavior. And wait, there's more Trump amnesia. Cornyn suddenly very concerned about the business dealings of Biden's nominees.
The truth of the matter is we have simply no idea what kind of business or financial relationships these individuals have with foreign powers that could influence their actions as high-ranking government officials. This goes way beyond compliance with the Foreign Agents Registration Act. This is an ethical issue. It's a conflict of interest issue. When it comes to the business dealings of those who could serve in high-ranking government positions, full transparency is the only option. In fact, I will make a pledge here today. I will not support any nominee who doesn't provide full transparency into their work on behalf of a foreign government.
Cornyn's pledge wasn't one that he was interested in taking when he voted for President Trump twice. Cornyn details reasonable concerns, but he forgot to ask those same questions of the once most powerful man in America. A president who delivers taxpayer dollars to his own businesses, domestic and foreign, by almost exclusively staying at Trump properties during his travels, his president, who hosted foreign dignitaries at his properties, who has continued business dealings in foreign countries while in the White House, who hid his phone calls with foreign leaders, and on and on. I mean, I only have several minutes here. But Trump also refused to release his tax returns. That was a big one, of course. He never, to this day, revealed what foreign entanglements he had. The New York Times got the closest. They reported that Trump still gets tens of millions in revenue and income from overseas, whether through properties or licensing deals. But concerns over that kind of thing just slipped Cornyn's mind until about a month before Election Day, as his re-election bid was shaping up to be uncomfortably competitive. He suddenly caught the courage to call the president out just a little, saying that he should have released his taxes. But last year, Cornyn didn't seem to think it was an issue for Congress.
This is not about trying to look at the president's tax returns. That's really not a legitimate scope of oversight. This is all for show.
Trump amnesia may strike the Senate, but Tate doesn't forget.
أنا كده خلصت، عملت فيديو، بدوس اسكيب، بيبتدي البرنامج اللي أنا بسجل بيه الشاشة ده، بيعمل لي تسجيل على على الهارد بتاعي. بقى أدوس سيف از فيديو أو إديت، أو ما عجبنيش الفيديو ده هعمل نيو ريكوردنج تاني. في تلات حاجات مهمين، وبعدين الرابع أبلود تو يوتيوب. بالنسبة لي أنا مش شايف الفيديو ده حاجة يعني تحتاج إن أنا أعمل إديتنج، فعلى طول أقول سيف از فيديو، بسجله بقى كفيديو ممكن يترفع على اليوتيوب. بشوف العنوان بتاعه، باخد نفس العنوان اللي أنا سجلت بيه، سجلت الفيديو بتاعه، اللي هو بيقول هنا
If I don't want to make a video like this.
بيقول bill bar no evidence of fraud that would affect election outcome. مفيش أي تزوير هيأثر في نتيجة الانتخابات. واخده كوبي كده بيست وسجله على الهارد بتاعي. بعد كده بقى عندي فيديو على الهارد، أنا بقى هرفعه على اليوتيوب، وبكده أكون أنا عملت فيديو من غير لا كاميرا عندي، ولا أنوار، ولا إضاءة، ولا صوت، ولا كاميرا، ولا أي حاجة خالص. أنا قاعد كده على السرير وابتديت أعمل الحكاية دي. دورت على الأخبار المهمة، فتحتها، سجلتها من على الشاشة، ورفعتها على اليوتيوب، على القناة بتاعتي. وده هو إزاي أنا أقدر أعمل فيديو احترافي بدون ما أنا أظهر أو أعلق أو أي حاجة. أنا باخد من الأونلاين أخبار وأعمل الفيديو اللي أنا عايزه. وأي أسئلة سيب حضرتك أي سؤال ليك على في الكومنتات، وأنا تحت أمرك أشرح لك أي حاجة أنت عايزها. البرنامج بتاع التسجيل ده مجاني، ومالوش ما بتدفعش فيه أي حاجة، واليوتيوب ما بتدفعش فيه أي حاجة. ولما بتوصل ل1000 مشترك و4000 ساعة مشاهدة للفيديوهات بتاعتك، بيبتدي اليوتيوب يدخلك في حاجة اسمها يوتيوبر، وبيفتح لك حصالة وبيحط لك فيها فلوس. كلما زادت المشاهدات لفيديوهاتك، كلما زاد عدد المشتركين في القناة بتاعتك، كلما زاد عدد الناس اللي هي بتضغط على اللايك تحت الفيديو وبيشتركوا ويفعلوا الجرس بتاع الاشتراك. وبس بيزيد دخلك شوية بشوية. لما يوصل $100 ممكن تروح تصرفهم من أي بنك ليه علاقة بويسترن يونيون أو من ويسترن يونيون نفسه. طبعا ده ملخص بسيط، وطبعا في شرح يعني ازاي ترفعه وازاي في اليوتيوب. وطبعا يعني انا بعتبر ان انتوا يعني بتعرفوا ترفعوا ازاي فيديوهات على اليوتيوب. بعد كده بناء على الكومنتات اللي هتجيلي أنا هبتدي أعمل فيديوهات تانية أشرح أي إجابة على الأسئلة بتاعت حضراتكم. طبعا مش هوصيكم بالضغط على علامة الإعجاب، لايك وشير، انشر الفيديو لمن لا يعرف هذه المعلومات. ولو كنت حضرتك أول مرة تشرفني في القناة فرجاء اشتراك في القناة وتفعيل الجرس اللي جنب كلمة سبسكرايب عشان يجيلك كل جديد في القناة. أشكرك للمتابعة وأتركك في رعاية الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.